you have a job. You're a scientist in the NHS. You contribute to society. What is it about the language that Boris Johnson used that has an impact on you this morning?
Definitely. First of all, I think his comments that veiled women are letterboxes and bank robbers are dehumanising, number one. You're forgetting that there's a human being behind it. And also when they describe us as a bank robbers, he's creating an environment of suspicions. He's criminalising us in the public life. And it has a very negative impact on us because it makes us feel unsafe in the street. I mean, there's a rise, an increase in Islamophobic abuse. I have personally faced verbal and even physical abuse. And only 2 weeks ago, I came across a woman who had her niqab pulled off while she was working in her shop. And the way she described it, that it wasn't only Islamophobic, but she felt that she was sexually assaulted. Because can you imagine if a man come and you were wearing a miniskirt and someone pulling that skirt down?
And is that? I mean, many people are confused about why you wear it.
Yes.
Is the face in your culture? I mean, I don't think it's an Islamic thing, is it? It's a cultural thing. Am I right in saying that? We had an earlier guest saying the very same thing. It's an
Islamic and a religious interpretation.
You do believe it's a religious thing? Well, I think that's the debate that the Muslim faith has itself, doesn't it? I know Muslim people who say it's not really Islamic, it's a cultural thing.
Definitely there is a diversity in views. And this is one of the things that it was mentioned in the Quran, that women are recommended to lower down their garments. And the garments has different interpretation. Right. And that's why you see me wearing face veil and others headscarf and others don't wear it at all.
So is the face, because you make the comparison between a miniskirt being pulled down, which of course would be sexual assault in the street, and that you feel that anybody pulling that down, or in effect asking you to pull it down, I guess, is it because the face is seen as a sexual thing?
No, it's not
really
that.
About what you mean.
It's not that. But that woman, when she described it, she said, I felt naked in the street. And that's why for her it was a sexual assault. Right. So for us
invaded in a way.
Invaded, that her privacy was invaded. She was physically assaulted. But for me, it's an act of worship. So a lot of people think it's oppressive, that I'm doing it for men, or I was forced by a husband or a brother, but the truth is not. It was fully my choice.
Aren't they?
Some are probably in Afghanistan, because in Britain, ultimately, there is freedom of expression. You're free to express your identity in the way you want.
Against your family's wishes. I think the point she's making, that sometimes it's against family's wishes.
Well, you talk about freedom of expression. Sorry, you talk about freedom of expression. Yes. In which case, doesn't Boris Johnson have the right to express his views in this way? Even if it offends you?
He has the right to freedom of expression, but not the freedom of hate and bigotry.
There's several issues which are being conflated here, and let's not pretend for a second that the niqab and the burqa is a symbol of female emancipation. It is precisely the opposite. Various media outlets can always find one woman who will, as your guest has done today in the studio, argue very articulately that this is her choice, but it isn't for the vast majority of women across the world, and it is about a violent, oppressive symbol of patriarchy. That is one issue aside. Has Boris Johnson stepped out of line and made it easier for a thug on the street to spit at a veiled woman who takes her children to the ice cream van this afternoon? He's absolutely made it easier for that to happen. To me and to many people, the majority of people in this country, the veil does look ridiculous, and it has no place in a Western, liberalised, feminist society in which we live. There is no justification for it, in my personal opinion. But does he have a right to deride the individual women in this way? Absolutely not. Can he take issue with the culture? Yes, he should. But let's remember that Boris Johnson does what is right for Boris Johnson on pretty much every occasion.
It's very hard for some people to read the way people are thinking. So he was using, you might argue, bank robber, terrible connection, offensive connection, because he was talking about people that might wear a face mask to rob a bank. He talked about letterboxes because you can't see the eyes. He's also, other people have commented since that you wouldn't want to talk to somebody in a motorbike helmet with the visor down. Do you understand that? Do you think that's an issue for people who aren't wearing the veil to be able to connect with those who are?
I can empathise with that. I mean, Muslim women who chose to wear the face veil are a minority within a minority. And a lot of people did not have the chance to interact with them and see, oh, can I understand her? Can I see when she smiles and things like that? I mean, working in the NHS for more than 4 years now, I've never had problems with my lab colleagues in the cancer diagnostic lab, interacting with them and communicating my ideas. But I agree with Beverley that truly, Boris Johnson is using the face veil as a polarising tool to divide us. Yes. But what I don't agree with her is that it's not a feminist expression. For me, it's actually also a feminist statement to wear the face veil, because in the culture that we live in, that the woman has to fit a certain shape, a certain way. I mean, if you walk in the underground in London, in the summer especially, all what you see is women of unrealistic shapes, and women are being obsessed with the gap between their thighs and so on. And that's why, for me, this is a feminist statement that
it's a liberation in a way.
Exactly.
Are you aware of that people do feel uncomfortable around it? And is it something that we have to deal with our own discomfort?
That's a collective responsibility in all of us to open dialogue and channels of communication and discussion and understand one another and what are the reasons behind someone like me choosing to wear the face veil.
Well, you've done your job this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.